Hello friends, good afternoon and welcome to Recite Live Lectures. Dear friends, today in the series of World Geography Through Maps, we will be talking about the geography of Asia. To discuss this topic, we have with us our subject expert Dr. B.W. Pandey. Dr. Pandey is Associate Professor in Department of Geography in Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Sir to our studios and request him to start the lecture. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Amrit. Good afternoon, friends. Today I am going to discuss Asia continent, and this is many series we have discussed already, geography through map. And Asia continent, the largest continent out of the 7 continents, and in fact, it's not only largest in area-wise, and also it is the largest in the population. So, more than almost 30% land of the world lies in Asia continent, and having more than 60% of the world population. So, it is very, very interesting. Interesting because of its diversity. Asia continent having very diverse geography, very diverse relief features, and a unique drainage system. And it is a continent which is extending from equator to polar region. So you can find a great latitudinal extension, also a great altitudinal variations. So altitude and latitude both are the highest in the world as compared to other continents. Friends, the northern tip of Russia, that is Siberia, which is north of the Arctic Circle. North of the Arctic Circle, and you can find this is Arctic Circle and the Timor Peninsula of the Asia continent, which is the approximately somewhere more than 75 latitudes. And in the southern part, you can find the south of the Southeast Asia with the archipelago of Indonesia, which lies south of the equator. So right from equator in the south to the north of the Arctic Circle, this is the extent of latitudinal extent of Asia continent, and highest altitudinal extent, most of the highest peaks of the world lies in Asia continent, ranging from Himalayas to Karakoram. So Mount Everest, K2, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Mansalu, these are the highest peaks in the world. The 8,848 meters. So you find the very high altitudinal variation and very high latitudinal variation. Friends, before coming to detail of the physical geography of Asia, I'd like to mention, if you know, the political map of Asia continent. Because of its large geographical area, having a unique and distinct regional identity, regional geographical identity. regional cultural identity, regional climatic identity, regional physiographic identity, and regional vegetational hydrological identity. Therefore, friends, it is very necessary you should know Asia continent through the regions. So I will discuss political map and I will superimpose the physical map along with the political map on the basis of regional. That is the best method, technique to learn the geography through maps. Regional identities I'd like to discuss, like, the one thing you know very well, this is the South Asia. South Asia, and geographically it is South Asia because it lies the southern part of Asia continent. It is on the head of the Indian Ocean. Friends, in polity, economy, you must have heard SAARC nations, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SAARC nations, and these are the countries of the SAARC. The largest one is India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and now Afghanistan become the part of the SAARC. So these countries of South Asia called SAARC nations. And here I would like to mention that from geological point of view, another term you must learn called Indian subcontinent. There is a little variation, there is a little difference in SAARC nations, South Asia and Indian subcontinent. Subcontinent includes physical parameters. Subcontinent includes geological parameters. It includes hydrological parameters. So, in the history of the life cycle of the earth, history of the origin of the crust, history of the oceans and continents, friends, the southern part of the Asia, south of the Himalaya and Karakoram, this was the part of Antarctica. It was joint with the Antarctica. The southern part, south of the Himalaya, this land is Gondwana land. And north of the Himalaya, these are all Eurasia, called Angara land. So south of Himalaya, geological formation of south of the Himalaya are different than the north of the Himalaya. So India and the homogeneous territory of geohydrological unit called Indian subcontinent, which includes only 5 countries. Unlike the SAARC, only 5 countries including India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh. I repeat, India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh. These 5 countries altogether form Indian subcontinent. Friends, these countries have common hydrological unit and having same watershed, like a Himalayan affected by Himalayan watershed. So, Indian subcontinent and the SAARC nations, there is a little variation. Then, West Asia. West Asia, which is popularly known as Maghreb. Maghreb means western countries, is a western part of Asia called Maghreb. And these parts affected by the climatic and hydrological geographical parameters are affected by 7 seas. Therefore, West Asia known as land of 7 seas. That covers the Arabian Sea, number 1, Arabian Sea, number 2, Red Sea, number 3, Gulf of Persia, number 4, Gulf of Oman, number 5, Mediterranean Sea, number 6, Black Sea, number 7, Caspian Sea. Earlier, we had Aral Sea. Now, more than 80% of Aral Sea is dried up. It is the most endangered lake in the world. See, it has converted from sea to lake because it is a landlocked water body. So West Asia also affected by a number of gulfs and inlets, outlets. Therefore, these are also called as Gulf countries. Gulf countries. And within the Gulf countries, there are several divisions, Gulf countries as well as Arabian countries, because Arabian Peninsula is the largest peninsula in the world. Arabian Peninsula is the largest peninsula in the world, and Indian Peninsula is the largest peninsula of the world in one country. So, South Asia, West Asia, then you see Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, covering the Indonesian archipelago, Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, and the countries of the peninsula of the Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. They are Southeast Asia. Then you find East Asia, east of the India. There are East Asian countries. And finally come the Far East. Countries of the Far East, that includes Japan, Taiwan, China, Far East countries. And the Central Asia, Central Asian countries are mostly landlocked countries. And finally, you find the Pacific world. The small countries lies in Pacific. They are called Melanesia, Micronesia, Polynesia. So South Asia, first we'll discuss the geography of South Asia. South Asia countries are India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and Maldives. In South Asian countries, India is the largest country, and remaining all the SAARC nations are our neighboring countries. So there is a lot of regional economic and political cooperation with India and our surrounding countries. Many of these countries are our immediate neighbor. Many of these countries are our next neighbor. So south of India is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, which is an island country. Island country, Sri Lanka, and it is known as Pearl of the East. Friends, it appears, it looks like a pearl, so it is called as Pearl of the East. And now you can see on the map, this is the map of Sri Lanka, known as Pearl of the East. This island country, Pidru-Thalgala, is the highest peak of the Sri Lanka. Pidru-Thalgala is the highest peak of Sri Lanka, and river Mahaveli Ganga is the longest and the largest river of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, Vedas are the first people of Sri Lanka. They are native people of Sri Lanka. Veda. And northern part of Sri Lanka is a little narrow as compared to southern part. This is Point Pedro, northernmost tip of the Sri Lanka, and it lies on the Jaffna Peninsula. Jaffna Peninsula, this was in the news for a longer period of time when the LTTE problem were prevailing in Sri Lanka. And this is a famous elephant pass. This is a famous elephant pass which connects the Jaffna Peninsula with the rest part of Sri Lanka. This is a isthmus known as pass. Talai Mannar. Talai Mannar is the nearest point to India. Friends, this is Dhanushkodi of India and Talai Mannar of Sri Lanka. Dhanushkodi of India and Talai Mannar of Sri Lanka, these are the nearest point between India and Sri Lanka. And this is Adams Bridge, so-called Ram Setu. Adams Bridge, Ram Setu. The coastal area of Sri Lanka, or plain area, you know, this is the dark green color which shows the plain. And as you move from coastal area towards interior of Sri Lanka, you will find that gradually altitude increases. And the central point, that is the Pidru-Thalgala, the highest point of Sri Lanka, highest peak of Sri Lanka. Adams Peak are another second highest peak in Sri Lanka. Kandy, a beautiful city situated on these mountains. Major cities of Sri Lanka include Colombo, city of Colombo, you can find. City of Colombo, Gale, Hambantota, Batticaloa, Trincomalee, Trincomalee, and Kandy in the center. Kandy, you find Dambulla and Anuradhapura. These are major cities of Sri Lanka. Friends, Sri Lanka, close to the equator, having equatorial type of climate, also affected by monsoon type of climate, so densely covered with the forest. And because of the slope, gentle slope, they also used to grow tea, coffee, rubber, coconut, and rice are the major crops. Friends, in the Human Development Index, HDI, Sri Lanka dominates in South Asia in terms of life expectancy, in terms of sex ratio, in terms of literacy, the infant mortality rate. Sri Lanka is much ahead than the other countries of South Asia. So, Sri Lanka as a pearl of the East. Then you find Bhutan. Bhutan, which is a land of thunderbolt. Land of thunderbolt. Friends, in Bhutan, the foothills of the Himalaya, middle Himalaya, and the greater Himalaya. So greater Himalaya abruptly the height of 7,000 meters. So rain-bearing winds from the Bay of Bengal branch, when it enters in Bhutan, have a lot of clouds and thunders, rumbling, and heavy rainfall. So it is called as land of thunderbolts. Nepal. Nepal, truly on the Himalayas. And if you see the geography of Nepal, so northern part of Nepal having greater Himalaya, middle Himalaya in the center, and Shivaliks in the south. This is the reason that Nepal known as Himalayan Kingdom. Nepal is a Himalayan kingdom, and it is the only Hindu country in the world. Highest altitude in the world, Nepal. That's why it has a great potential for Himalayan mountain ecotourism. A great potential for hydropower, thousands and thousands of rivers draining from the Himalaya. Friends, you know, lot of hydropower India generates in Himalayan country, Nepal, with the collaboration of India and Nepal. The big dams on river Gandak, river Kosi, they are very, very good example of the good relationship between India and Nepal. Himalayan kingdom. Bangladesh, you know, this is the east part of India after the partition of India and Pakistan. So Bangladesh was East Pakistan, and you know its history divided by the Radcliffe. So Radcliffe demarcated the boundary India and Bangladesh, and later on in 1972 the East Pakistan become independent and become Bangladesh. In Indian Ocean, there is a small island group of the islands, scattered coral islands, and this is the smallest country of the Asia continent, Maldives. It is Maldives are very, very endangered due to global warming. Islands are disappearing. Friends, these are the geographical information about South Asia and we'll discuss the rest of the Asia continent later. If any question, most welcome. Thank you very much. Now we'll move to the West Asia, and as I told you, the West Asia, Maghreb countries, land of 7 seas, and I'd like to mention detail about the West Asia. If you see, in the West Asia, the countries having further sub-regions, subdivisions. So you can see this is the two parts called Gulf countries and the Arabian countries. Gulf countries, those countries which are lying in the Gulf of Persia, Gulf of Oman, Gulf of Aden, all the Gulf areas. So among the Gulf countries, Iran, which was earlier called as Persia, Iran, Iraq, this is popularly known as Mesopotamia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, United Arab Emirates, Oman. These countries, popularly known as Gulf countries, because these countries lying along the Gulf. Then, countries like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, which are earlier called as Aden, Yemen, Oman, and UAE. These countries known as Arabian countries because these countries are situated on Arabian Peninsula. United Arab Emirates are the union of the 6, they are princely states, rather 7 princely states. And these princely states are altogether known as United Arab Emirates. The western part along the west coast, that is coast of the Mediterranean Sea, along the coast of Mediterranean Sea, it's affected by Mediterranean climate. Jordan, Syria, Israel, Philistine. Jordan, Syria, Israel, and Philistine. These countries called West Coast countries. Now, these Gulf countries are the largest producer of petroleum in the world. And this is the very important geopolitics of the Gulf countries is the Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz, which connects the Gulf of Persia and Gulf of Oman. Friends, this geopolitics of the West Asia has a distinct, unique geopolitical feature. Bandar Abbas of Iran, this is the kind of diamond harbor for Iran. It is not only for economic point of view, it's very strategic geopolitical point of view. This is Chabahar port, is very popular with India, able to establish the political relationship with Iran in the answer of the Gwadar port of the Pakistan is given to China. So Chabahar port, which India is able to have negotiation with Iran. The petroleum is a major product of the Gulf countries, and this is the very rich economy, very high per capita income. Millions and millions of the Indian people migrating to Gulf countries in terms of the employment and jobs. UAE, they're the princely states, which include Doha, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Al Fujairah, and Adnan, Al Fujairah. So the total coming the 7 princely states. This is a Kuwait, Maqwa Al Ahmadi of the Kuwait. In fact, this is the largest oil refinery in the Middle East. Iraq and Kuwait, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, these are the major oil producing countries. Bahrain, which is an island country, which is the pearl of the Middle East. Bahrain, pearl of the Middle East. The Saudi Arabia is the largest country of the Middle East. Friends, these countries lying in the west, but these are called Middle East. These are called Middle East because if you see the world map, then you find that they are the western country in the west, these are in the east, and these countries lying in the middle of the east. So from Asia point of view, these are Western Asia. But from the global point of view, world point of view, these are Middle East. Therefore, these are popularly known as Middle East. Saudi Arabia is the largest country of the Middle East, followed by Iran. And coming to the Arabian countries, Gulf countries, countries of the west coast, and finally Asia Minor. Friends, there are 4 subdivisions of the West Asia: Gulf countries, Arabian countries, countries of the west coast, that is the countries of coast of the Mediterranean Sea, and the Asia Minor. Friends, Asia Minor includes Turkey, which is popularly known as Anatolia. Turkey, surrounded by Black Sea, Sea of Marmara, Aegean Sea, that is part of the Mediterranean Sea, and very interesting geographical area. This is world largest karst area. Karst area where the limestone dominates, dolomites, and other kind of soluble rocks are dominating. And because of this, this is the Lake Van, Lake Van is the most saline lake in the world. Lake Van, and the density of the water is so high that no one can die, no one can drown in this lake. Salinity, the highest salinity in the world, even more than the Dead Sea, Lake Van in Turkey. The Anatolia or Turkey lies mainly in Asia continent, and a minor part of the Turkey lies in Europe. So Turkey is Eurasia. It lies in Europe, and also a small part of Turkey lies in the Europe continent and major part in Asia. And this is the Istanbul, city of Istanbul, that lies in European Turkey. And Turkey is the only developing country of Europe continent. This is the reason that in Europe continent, Turkey known as sick man of Europe. Sick man of Europe, Turkey. This is Bosporus Strait divides Europe and Asia. And West Coast countries covering the Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, these countries affected by Mediterranean type of climate, including Jordan. And you can see carefully, this is the Dead Sea, which divides the international boundary of Jordan and Israel. Dead Sea, this is the lowest point of Asia continent. If the Mount Everest is the highest point of Asia continent, Dead Sea is the lowest point of Asia continent. This is the Rift Valley. This is Israel, and I'd like to show the detailed map of Israel. You can find this is the Gaza, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa. They are the major cities of Israel, and this is the area which is the very global politics, globally geopolitical news comes with the fighting between Israel and Palestine. So there is no such a permanent boundary. These are dotted boundaries which are largely affected by time to time with the forces of both the countries. Lebanon, this is Mediterranean country, and Israel and Lebanon are having viticulture, production of grapes and manufacturing wine known as viticulture. Then find Syria, this is the country which is now most disturbed country in the world, and this is the territory of the Islamic State called ISIS, and this is the city of Aleppo, where the final war going on between the ISIS and the remaining forces of the world. So West Asia, and then friends, now we'll move to the South East Asia and the East Asia. In the East Asia, you'll find the countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Myanmar, it is the land of pagodas. So many pagodas found in Myanmar, and river Irrawaddy River Irrawaddy is the largest and the longest river of Myanmar. It is a major river of Southeast Asia and the East Asia. And friends, I would like to mention that this is Mandalay. This is Mandalay, and if you see the Mandalay, this is the most interior inland port of Asia continent. Interior inland port of the Asia continent that lies in the river Irrawaddy. River Irrawaddy and River Chindwin. River Chindwin is a major tributary of Irrawaddy, like Ganga Yamuna. So Irrawaddy is the Ganga of Myanmar, Chindwin is the Yamuna of Myanmar. And finally, River Irrawaddy drains in the Gulf of Martaban, called Martabba, the Martaban, and it forms the big size of delta. In the delta of the River Irrawaddy in the city of Yangon. Friends, this is Thailand. Thailand country, Thailand, land of white elephant. Thailand, where its capital Bangkok is a very promising tourism developed area, and Bangkok lies on the river of Chao Phraya. River Chao Phraya, which means Chao means four, Phraya means river. Chao Phraya, Chao means four, Phraya means river. When four rivers join all together and become one stream. So Mae Ping, Mae Wang, Mae Chong, Mae Bin. All these four rivers join and become one stream, so called Chao Phraya. And this, on the mouth of Chao Phraya, is the Bangkok, which is situated also along the river city and also the sea coast. This is the bight of Bangkok, also called as Gulf of Thailand. This is Gulf of Thailand. This is the bight of Bangkok. Then you find the Laos. Friends, if you see carefully the map of Laos, Laos is the only landlocked country of East Asia. It is a landlocked country, right from the north in the China, the Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. Also, Laos form common boundary with Myanmar. Laos. Then Cambodia, and finally Vietnam. Thailand, the East Asia, almost all the countries have changed their name. Myanmar earlier was known as Burma. Now it is called Myanmar. Thailand, earlier it was known as Siam. The new name is Thailand. Kampuchea, now called Cambodia. Then find Vietnam. All these countries have one common identity, that is hydrological identity. Hydrological identity, I would like to show you. This is river Mekong, and these are known as Mekong countries. Mekong is a common feature of these countries. Draining from China, it enters, dividing the boundary of Myanmar and Laos, then makes a boundary between Laos and Thailand, then it enters, form the boundary between the Laos and Cambodia, and finally it enters from Cambodia to Vietnam. So Mekong is the common identity of these countries. This is the reason that the cultural relation, political relation with these countries, with India, had begun when we had a Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. A Prime Minister who had given a new policy that is called Look East policy. So last 60 years, India was looking towards West only. Now, he had started the Look East policy and he had established the Mekong Ganga project. Friends, Mekong Ganga project is a cultural project, economic project, social project, educational project between these Mekong countries and India. Well, these are the East Asian countries. Now come to the Southeast Asia. Among the Southeast Asia, you will find that the lot of archipelagos, group of islands and archipelagos. So Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Singapore, Philippines, East Timor, Southeast Asian countries. There are thousands and thousands of the groups of the islands. When the group of islands found in a particular chain, it is called archipelago. So Indonesia is the largest archipelago in the world. Sumatra, this is Sumatra island, Sumatra. Then you find Java, Bali, Sumba, coming to the Timor, and all the way it comes to the Papua New Guinea. So these are chain of islands of the Southeast Asia, which are archipelago. So Indonesia is the largest country of the Southeast Asia, and it has the largest number of islands. This is Borneo Island, which is the largest island in fact Southeast Asia in terms of area, and it is divided into three countries. There are three countries. Southern part is Indonesia, northern part that lies the Malaysia in the western part, northern part, and here is the country Brunei, a small country Brunei. Then you find half of the Papua New Guinea. This is the intercontinental boundary. So in the western part of the Papua New Guinea is Indonesia, and in the eastern part of the New Guinea island is the country called Papua New Guinea. Friends, the Mount Joya is the highest peak of the Southeast Asia that lies over New Guinea island, which is more than 5,000 meters. These parts are well known for channels and straits, passages. A strait, channel, passage. Friends, these are the very common term when we use when a water body channel, water divides two land called strait. And if it is number of islands divided by the water, they are called channels. And when the two big land mass divided by water, it's called passage. So when it is wide, also when it is wide, it is called passage. So among the important channels, passages, I would like to mention that this is the Great Channel, which divides India and Indonesia. Great Channel divides Andaman Nicobar and the Sumatra. Strait of Malacca. Friends, this is the lifeline of Singapore. Because of Strait of Malacca, Singapore became port of call and it became a developed country in the world because it lies on the very much on international sea route. Sunda Strait, Lombok Strait, Makassar Strait, these are large number of channels, straits and passages which are the lifeline of the Southeast Asia. Friends, Timor is now divided into two parts. The West Timor is the part of the Indonesia and the East Timor is now separated. East Timor is now independent country, and East Timor, interestingly, the East Timor, its capital is Dili. This is Dili, which is the capital of East Timor. Now, Far East Asia, when you cover the Far East Asia, you'll find among the Far East Asia, they are the country of Korean Peninsula, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, you find Taiwan, China. Friends, the 38-degree parallel divides North Korea and South Korea, and this is La Paris Strait divides Russia and Japan. Japan, the thousands and thousands of the chain of archipelago, and if the chain of archipelago is arcuate shape and parallel to the coast of the continent, then it is known as festoon. So this is Japan. Japan is an archipelago of a festoon archipelago, which is an arc shape, and the northern islands called Hokkaido, the Honshu, Shikoku and Kyushu, the four major islands, and then the Ryukyu. Ryukyu is another archipelago of Japan, which is extended right from Taiwan to the Shikoku and Kyushu islands. So among the Japanese island, this is the Honshu, which is the largest island, and Japan was earlier known as Nippon. From Nippon, later on became Japan. And the Honshu is the largest island in terms of area, also the largest island in terms of population. So Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku and Kyushu, these are volcanic islands. And very famous Fujiyama Mountain lies on the here near Tokyo is the Honshu Island, and this is the sacred mountain in the world because it is active volcano but having glacier also, ice. So this is a very sacred, it's considered very sacred mountain. Friends, China, eastern part of China, so more than 90% of the population of China lies in the eastern part, because in the eastern part of China you can see this green color. This is the plain area. This is Manchuria plain. This is called Manchurian plain, and these are the East China plain. River Wangho, Yangtze-Kiang, Xikang, that the major river have formed this plain. Friends, this is the most populous country in the world, and now the industry, the Manchuria region is now the largest iron and steel region in the world. Now it has left behind the USA. So the cities like Ansan, Fushun, Harbin, these are the big steel plants in the world. In the central part of China, that is Beijing to Shanghai, they are the intensive industrial region, and now new industrial regions have been developed in south, covering from the triangle of Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangzhou. So the fast train running between Guangzhou, Zhuzhou to Wuhan, Guangzhou to Wuhan, this is the fast growing industrial corridor developing in China. Friends, finally we come to the Central Asia, the countries of Central Asia, which line the number of smaller countries and also the big countries like Kazakhstan, Mongolia, then find Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, right? Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and finally Kazakhstan, up to Mongolia. These countries known as Central Asian countries, and these are largely inhabited by the nomadic herders, the nomads, and now having uranium, petroleum, so economy gradually changing in the Central Asian country. So a lot of information I had given you, many more I'd like to give you in the further lectures about the Asia continent, and if you have any question, you are most welcome. Thank you very much.
On that note, I would like to thank sir for this very enriching discussion, and thank you dear friends for watching our show. Stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you.